Hey guys, this video is going to be a little different from our normal content. So, a little over a year ago, Levi and I did a special event to address the then new trade practices set by the infamous NAR Settlement of 2024. Although by now most agents have moved on and have managed the new rules just fine, when I do private one-to-one coaching, I still find a lot of agents are struggling with consistently getting full buyer's agent commissions. And when that happens, I send them a private copy of the special address. So now we're going to publish that special address here. This is not just another hot take on the NAR settlement. This is a real practical guide on how to get paid full buyer's agent commission on every deal and how to market your listings so that they sell faster, all while complying with the new rules. Enjoy.
My name is Chris. This is my brother, Levi. We are the co-founders of Guerrilla Realty. And you guys know that here at Guerrilla Realty, we do tools and training to help you guys rapidly grow your real estate business. And I don't know if I can speak for Levi, but hands down, my favorite thing that we do to help you guys grow is exactly what we're doing right here today, which is the live webinars, which is where we get to interact directly with you. And we get to teach you guys the crunchy stuff that we've learned, the hard fought lessons that we've discovered by always going out and testing new stuff, and just get to share it with you and get to share the downloadable resources. And so I am as pumped for this presentation as I have been for any webinar in a really long time. Are you excited about this, Levi, or like more annoyed?
Yeah, I mean, I love all of our webinars, but I especially like when we can jump into sort of a moment of uncertainty. Like I remember a few years back when everybody was panicking over COVID. And what are we going to do? Is this the end of the real? We can't do showings anymore, and all that kind of stuff. And the smart agents were able to take it and use it as an opportunity to grow their business. I think the same is going to be true for this as well. And so, I especially like these sessions where we can kind of, maybe speak into a little bit of the uncertainty.
All right, cool. So before we go any further, can we do a quick audio visual check? Can you guys confirm that you can hear me and Levi crystal clear, that you can see our faces in the top right-hand corner of your screen, and also that you can read our screen, which reads the NAR Settlement 2024, how to use the settlement to close a ton of new business. Can you guys give us a yes, 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 and all clear, a loud and clear, let's go, something like that, just to make sure that we're good? All right. Looks like everything's good. So we're going to jump into this, okay? So I know that this whole topic is fraught with a lot of fear, uncertainty, even hopelessness, where people feel that this is the beginning of the end for buyer's agents, potentially even agents altogether, right? We're about to be replaced by Zillow, about to be replaced by artificial intelligence. The robots are taking over. We're living out our worst nightmare from that movie we all saw when we were 16 years old, The Matrix, right? And so this whole topic is fraught with a lot of fear. And what we want to do is we want to inject a little confidence into this. And it's not just because we want to have hope and we want to have confidence. It's because Levi and I truly do have confidence, because there are some underlying business principles and business philosophies that, because we believe in those 100%, and by the end of today's webinar, you guys are going to believe in them too. But because we believe in those underlying principles and philosophies, when this settlement, when back in May, when it became pretty much rock solid that this was going to happen, even as far back as March, when everyone started freaking out, Levi and I instantly knew it wasn't a problem, because we understood we had this underlying business philosophy, business principle. I'm going to share them with you, and you guys are gonna buy into them too by the end of this webinar. Okay, so I want to show you not only how to not get killed by the NAR settlement this year, but I want to show you how you can very quickly swing into action to close a ton of new business from the settlement. Okay, and so the first thing that Levi and I decided we wanted to do is we wanted to kind of clear the air with a little settlement summary, right? So we wanted to talk about what the settlement is not, what it doesn't say, and then also summarize what it does say. So obviously there's been a lot of misinformation out there. I'm sure some of you guys have, yeah, Monica, we're recording this. Okay. I'm sure you guys have seen a lot of the misinformation, obviously the stuff that's being peddled out to the general public. Although, by the way, poll your non-realtor friends. Most of them have no clue that this is going on. And that's always important to remember. But those who do know probably got some really, really bad information. Okay. So first of all, let's cover what it doesn't say. All right. So this settlement agreement between the National Association of Realtors and the Department of Justice, okay, it doesn't say that it's real estate law. And I want to be really clear about that. The way that people are talking about it makes it feel as though a new law has just been passed, right? They've just handed down a new legal opinion, a new legal precedent. This is not real estate law, period. Okay, we'll talk about what it is in just a minute, but it doesn't say new real estate law. Okay, it's also not state specific. This is kind of a minor point, but Levi and I, we discussed it, and there are a lot of people out there, generally on Facebook groups, that are talking about, oh, you know, the rule is different in California versus Michigan versus North Carolina versus Florida versus Texas. Okay, it is not state specific. This is one big settlement agreement that affects everybody who calls themselves a realtor. All right. So we'll talk more about what it is in just a minute, but it's not state specific. It's not real estate law. It doesn't eliminate buyer's agent commissions. I think most of you guys already know this, but it doesn't hurt to say, it doesn't hurt to repeat. It does not eliminate buyer's agent commissions, and it doesn't make commissions negotiable, right? So this is actually one that was, I don't want to go political, but there was one really famous person who, I don't know if you know who that is, Levi, who said, it's nice that now for the first time in history, real estate commissions are now negotiable because of this NAR DOJ settlement.
I didn't know who said this.
That was our fearless leader, Joe Biden. So again, not to get political, right? I don't care whether you're Democrat, Republican, whether you love Joe or you hate Joe. It doesn't really matter. But there has been some misinformation out there that suddenly commissions are negotiable. Okay. The truth is commissions have always been negotiable, right? We know that they've been negotiable because Levi and I here in North Carolina, real estate, commissions are still strong at about 3% per side. And, when you go west out to California, you're lucky if you're getting 2.5%, right? That's how you know they're negotiable, right? It's because you see different fees in different parts of the country. Okay. So they've always been negotiable. Okay. So now let's talk about what it does say. All right. So the settlement does say that there are some practice changes coming down from your National Trade Association. So remember that whether you love, I'm going to shrink our heads a little bit. I'm blocking our slides. All right. How's that?
It's probably a good plan anyways.
Yeah. So remember that love them or hate them, the National Association of Realtors is not a government agency. It's a trade association, right? As all of us realtors get together and we say, hey, this is the trade association that we belong to, and it affords us certain benefits, right? And, I'm going to probably be really unpopular for this, but I'm going to say some nice things about the good old National Association of Realtors later on in this call. All right, so get ready for that, guys. You're probably going to unfollow. You're probably going to leave the webinar immediately. But remember that the settlement is really just a collection of practice changes. Let's turn the old laser pointer on. Practice changes from your trade association known as NAR, or the National Association of Realtors. Okay? And I know because I actually read the settlement agreement. So most people that you're hearing from online haven't read it. They've read some summary of a summary of a summary of somebody's interpretation of the settlement agreement. Okay. Me and Levi have actually read the settlement agreement backward and forward, 3 to 4 times each. And the reason why is because before you claim to understand something and share it with someone else, you should read it yourself. Right. And as realtors, I think we all have that obligation because, we're supposed to be familiar with reading legal documents. But most realtors are afraid of going in there. So these are just a collection of practice changes. I'm not going to, but you can see that on page 28, section H. All right. If you want to look it up. All right. Now, number 2, it does say that you can no longer advertise the buyer agent commission in the MLS or any MLS-like service. Okay. And if you want to look that up and you want to read the specific language, you can find that in section 4 on page 29. All right. It outlines that, and then there's a bunch of stuff that goes along with that. Okay. But we know this is what it says because Levi and I have actually read this stuff backwards and forward multiple times. Okay. Number 3, it does say that you now must obtain buyer's agency agreement with specified compensation. And you have to do that before you show any properties to a potential client. Okay. So that's one of the big changes that people weren't necessarily prepared for. And one of the things that has them wringing their hands the most. Okay. And if you want to find that, it's on page 30, section 6A, basically, that covers that. Okay. But there's all the documents that you want. Levi just shared a link to the actual agreement. If you want to take, I think it takes 45 minutes, maybe read the thing carefully, front to back. But there you have it. Okay. And then
I would just add something real quick.
Oh, sure.
I would add that as someone who potentially was probably affected by this, I would challenge you all to read it. You don't have to read the whole 109 pages. If you start at page 28 and go about, 15, 20 pages in, you can cover all the stuff that's specific to
right.
you.
That's right.
So you should read it. It doesn't take very long. You owe it to yourself in your business. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah, totally agree. And number 4, and this was a funny little quirk to me and Levi, is how many of you guys already knew that this settlement agreement expires in 7 years? It expires on August 16th, 2031. Anybody knew that? Show of hands.
I've not heard anybody say this, surprisingly to me.
If you don't believe me, okay, literally just go to page 32, section 59. Okay, I'm just going to read it out loud. The obligation set forth in paragraph 58 of the settlement agreement will terminate 7 years after the class notice date. And actually, I have to go back and reread it. It may actually expire before August of 2031.
Yeah, it'll be April, I believe.
I think it'll be when the class was the class notice date. Okay, but basically 7 years from now, this thing is gone. Which isn't that a funny little quirk, right? That this whole thing that has the whole internet exploding, it's already got an expiration date on it, right? And so it's 7 years, so it's not going to really change your business right now. But it kind of shows that it's not, the settlement doesn't say that it is always wrong to have buyer's agent commissions listed in the MLS. It's just saying basically in an effort, and this is my own interpretation. I am not a lawyer. Don't play one on TV. But my own interpretation says that essentially what they're getting at is that buyer's agent commission, in order to reverse what may have become what would you call it? Like a global misunderstanding where people thought that buyer's agent commissions were set in stone and couldn't be negotiated, that we're just not going to advertise them for about 7 years. And then after 7 years, we'll figure out what to do next. Okay. But this automatically, if nothing else happens, this automatically goes away in 7 years. So weird little quirk of the settlement agreement, but that's how people didn't read it when they were going on the internet and blasting NAR and telling you to be afraid. They didn't read it because they never told you that it expires in 7 years. Okay, so now I mentioned before that one of the reasons why when this came out all the way back in March or April that Levi and I were not even remotely concerned. Okay, and the reason why is there are 2 basic principles that we always operate on in our real estate business. Okay. And one fact. And so I'm going to share real quick. I'm going to share with you guys 2 principles and 1 fact. I would recommend, if you're the type of person that takes notes during a class, I would recommend that you pull out a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen And I would write down these principles and facts because it'll help you absorb it in your brain and just cement it so that you always operate on these principles and facts. All right. All right. So let me share what these are. So 2 principles I want to share with you, and I want you to commit to running your real estate business on these principles. To me, these are absolutely non-negotiable. Okay. These are foundational principles that Levi and I operate on. All right. Number 1, okay, this is a little bit philosophical. In the long run, you will always be justly compensated for the value you provide. And this applies, by the way, not just in real estate, but literally in every area of your life or any industry that you ever participate in. Okay? In the long run, you will always be justly compensated for the value you provide. Oh, Chris, what about scammers and fraudsters and people that take advantage and what about thieves? Okay? Those people are getting compensated and they're not providing any value. Okay. Well, that's why we say in the long run. Okay. So the whole thing about fraudsters and schemesters and people that are running scams in the long run, typically they get found out. Okay. Even Bernie Madoff, who ran one of the greatest schemes of all time, even he got found out and ended up in prison. So in the long run, you'll always be justly compensated for the value that you provide, which means if you're currently providing real value to buyers, then you're going to continue to be justly compensated, and you don't have to worry about it. So all this hand wringing of, oh, is the Department of Justice going to let me get paid, and are listing agents going to withhold commissions from me? Okay, if you're providing value to buyers, then you will always be justly compensated for that value in the long run. All right.
And that works the other way as well, which is that if you're not providing value, you'll be justly compensated for that too.
Yeah. Which I think in the long run, I mean, I think it already has proven out, Levi, that the average or the median income for a realtor in North America is like 40 or 50,000. It's somewhere between 40 and 50,000. That's about how much value they're providing. Okay. Meanwhile, there's some agents that are making, $100, $200, $500, $1 million a year just because they're providing a lot more value to a lot more people. Okay. So I want you guys, I know you guys are you're like deep in the weeds still talking about the agreement in the chat. I want you guys to time out for just a minute. What I'm saying really matters. Okay. It sounds like some kind of deep philosophy or something like that. But if you can absorb this, if you can let this sink in and you can just cement this in your brain, that you know that you're always going to be compensated for the value you provide. When you think about growing your real estate business, you should really be thinking about finding more people that you can provide value to. So you offer a specified product or service, buyer representation. That's your product. You got to offer it to more people in order to make more money. Okay. But in the long run, you're going to always be justly compensated. So that's number 1. And then number 2, principle number 2, buyer's agency drives demand. Does anybody doubt this? I want to see show of hands. I'm just going to ask a quick poll. Go to the chat. Does anybody doubt that buyer's agency is what drives demand in the real estate market in North America? Okay, I'm actually about to prove you wrong if you doubt it. Okay, but I want to know if there's anybody that disagrees. I think we all kind of accept it, but it's good to say it out loud, to be explicit about it. Buyer's agency is what drives demand for real estate in North America, period. Okay? Mike says 100%. Jorge agrees. Okay? Now, if you accept these 2 principles, that in the long run, you'll always be justly compensated for the value you provide, and that buyer's agency drives demand, then ultimately it doesn't really matter whether the buyer's agency commission gets advertised in the MLS or not. It doesn't really matter whether you have to get a pre-touring agreement before you show properties or not. None of that matters, okay? Accept these 2 principles, write them down, okay? You don't even have to talk to your customer about these. You have to believe these 100%, okay? So these are the 2 principles. Now I'm going to share one fact. It's going to blow your mind. Most of you guys probably already know this, but you never heard anybody say it out loud. Okay, so one fact I want to share with you.
At least not put a number on it. When I saw the number, it surprised me.
Yeah. Last year, 89% of all buyers used a buyer's agent in the purchase of their home. Okay. And you can look this up, the National Association of Realtor Profile of Home Buyers and Sellers 2023. Okay, that's the latest report that we have. 89% of all buyers used a buyer's agent. Did you guys know that that was a 10-year high? Like, we're literally setting records that the percentage of people that are using buyer's agent is higher than ever before. Did you guys know that? Anybody surprised by the number? Okay, so let this sink in. And remember that if you're a listing agent, that 89% of all the buyers, and actually probably more than that, because a lot of the 11% are probably closely held transactions, just to be clear. Okay, so it's probably actually much higher than this when you actually factor it out. But even if you just assume it's just 89%, okay, if you're a listing agent and you're not paying a buyer's agency commission, you're putting 89% of all the buyers in your market, you're either eliminating them from your potential demand pool, okay, or you're putting them at a significant disadvantage. All right. And so you are de-incentivizing them to make an offer on your home, right? What if 89% of all demand just disappeared instantly? That's what would have happened if listing agents stopped paying buyer's agent commissions. Okay, so that's the fact. So remember, two principles, one fact. 89% of all buyers used a buyer's agent, okay, in 2023. All right, that means listing agents, no matter how arrogant that they are, no matter how big of jerks they may be, okay, listing agents need you. And the truth is, the good listing agents know that they need you. Okay, so 89% of all buyers use a buyer's agent in 2023, which proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that buyer's agency drives demand. And I really just want to underscore this. I don't want anybody leaving confused about who's driving demand or what's driving demand in the real estate industry in North America. All right, buyer's agency drives demand. So let's talk about what should buyer agents do. Well, if you're a buyer's agent, so we're going to talk about what buyer's agents should do, and then we're going to talk about what listing agents should do, okay? But the truth is it's pretty simple, okay? Especially for a buyer's agent. It's a little more complex for a listing agent. We'll cover that in a minute. But if you're a buyer's agent primarily, or you're working with a bunch of buyers today, you're probably wondering, what should I do in order to comply with the August 17th stuff? What should I do today in order to capitalize on this, okay? And so the thing that I'm excited about is that it's really simple what buyer's agents should do, and it's going to make you a lot more money, and I'm going to walk you through how, okay? So obviously the first thing that you should do is that you should obtain pre-touring agreements, okay? So I want to disclaim everything I'm about to tell you, that Levi and I, we are not attorneys, right? We do not practice law. We haven't been to law school. We don't play a lawyer on TV. We have absolutely no idea what we're talking about. This is for entertainment purposes only, all right? But you should obtain a pre-touring agreement. Now, me and Levi, our take on this is that you should probably leave your existing buyer's agency agreement, the form that you get from your broker or your local association. You should leave that intact, and that should be attached to every offer to purchase and contract that you submit. Agreed, Levi?
Yes.
Okay. Leave that in place. Don't do anything different. Okay. However, in order to satisfy the specifics of the settlement agreement, which remember, these are just practice changes from our trade organization, our trade association. Okay. In order to satisfy that new agreement that goes into full effect on August 17th, although most MLSs are already, we understand most MLSs are already enforcing this. Okay. What you need to do is you need to get a pre-touring agreement before you show them any properties, okay? This is something that leaves some of you guys wringing your hands a little bit. And I'm going to show you how easy it is and how this is actually a huge value add for you, okay? So this is why you're never going to get ghosted again. So I want to ask you guys a quick question, okay? How many of you guys have ever showed a property? Let's say you're advertising a property or you're doing an open house or something like that, and you met with a buyer and you got some of the details, got some of the criteria, what are they searching for? And get ready, because I'm actually about to ask you guys a poll, okay? How many of you guys met with them and then maybe even showed them a property that you thought would be perfect for them? Maybe it was even a property that you found for them. And then you hit it off right away, right? They liked you, you liked them. Everything was going great. It's almost like you're on a date, right? And so you show them the whole property. They really like it. They're not too sure if they're going to put in an offer.
But you're counting your commission check already, by the way.
Oh, not only are you counting your commission check, like you've already spent it. Like your Amazon basket that you've been, your save for later basket that's like $8,492, okay? You're about to push go on the whole thing. You've already spent this commission, okay? And then you shake hands, you leave, and they're like, hey, I'm going to call you in a couple of days, and we're going to finalize all this, and we're going to put in an offer, and they're making you feel great, and you go home, you're elated, okay? You can't wait to hear from this guy, okay? And then a couple of days pass by, and you don't hear from him, okay? And so then, you not even realizing what's transpired, you reach out to them, okay? 1 text message, 2 text messages, 3 text messages left on read, right? Now it's getting a little bit embarrassing. So you're like, oh, well, I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. I'll call them. 1 ring, straight to voicemail, okay?
Here you go.
This client has ghosted you. Quick show of hands, okay? If that has ever happened to you in your career in real estate, raise your hand. Okay, I'm raising my hand. Levi's raising his hand. Quick show of hands. It's confession time, guys. This is your cone of safety. You can tell us. How many times has that happened to you?
I can't count how many times, particularly early in my career.
Okay, here the confessions come. They're rolling in. This happens. Okay, this happened to everybody. Okay, do you know if NAR had reached this settlement agreement before, that would have never happened? Okay, if you play your cards right. All right, so let me tell you why. Okay, so I'm going to break down. This is the pre-touring agreement that Levi and I have developed and that we're using. Now, again, this is not legal advice. This has not been vetted by some special attorneys. This is just what we're using, and we're going to share the template with you for you to use it, okay? As always, check with your broker, check with the local association, do what you need to do as a realtor. We're not responsible, but this is the tour agreement what we're using, okay? I'm going to break it down for you, okay? So the touring agreement, first of all, was really important when we wrote this, that it would be 1 page, that it would be unassuming, unintimidating, and really easy to read. So you'll notice there's not a lot of legalese. This is plain worded. It's in a simple, easy to read font. Okay. And what we cover is first of all, we want to frame the relationship. Okay. So first of all, at the top of the agreement, we put the latest stat that a record 89% of home buyers purchased their home through a real estate agent last year, the highest level of buyer protection in over 10 years. Okay. So that's right there at the template. And Levi, if you want to go ahead and share a link to this template, you guys can get a copy of this. You just download it. It's yours to keep forever, just for attending today. Okay. So then we cover my services, and you can edit this part. Most of you guys, this probably is a pretty decent summation of what you do. So summarize your services. So for us, it's professional valuation on every property before you make an offer. That means a bulletproof CMA before our buyer makes an offer. Most of you guys probably don't do that, but you should do that. Okay. Expert negotiation from today through closing. Full service transactional admin, meaning I handle all the contracts and paperwork. Full service transactional management, which means I keep the deal on track through due diligence, inspections, etc. Access to a proprietary vendor list, the best pros for each job. And I'm fully insured against errors and omissions. Okay. So this goes back to framing the relationship. When I call it the highest level of buyer protection in over 10 years, that's what buyer representation means. Okay. When you represent a buyer, it's kind of like how an attorney represents a defendant in court. Okay. Yeah. Can you defend yourself in the U.S. legal system? Absolutely. Is it recommended? Not usually. Okay. You're offered a lot higher level of protection if you hire a licensed professional to represent you in court. And it's the same in a real estate purchase. You have a lot more protections if you hire a buyer representative in the purchase of your home. Okay. So then we allow them to choose their fee. This is known in sales as a choice of 2 yeses. All right. And this is very, very effective at helping to frame and anchor your fee so that it doesn't sound too high. Okay. So we specify the fee. We have the classic fee option, nothing up front, 4% at closing. Yes, 4% at closing. I'll cover why in just a minute. Yes, I'm going to tell them 4%. Okay. It doesn't mean you always have to charge 4%, but we're going to go ahead and hit it here. Okay. We'll negotiate with the seller to cover your buyer's agency fee paid at closing. Or you can choose the retainer fee, with a retainer fee of $18,000 paid up front and held in an interest-bearing account until after closing, at which time we'll refund you the difference between your fee and actual billable hours, how lawyers get paid. Okay. With the disclaimer, broker fees are not set by law and are fully negotiable. Okay. This is already included in most buyer's agency agreements, but it actually is required by the settlement. So we've got it there. Okay. So retainer fee, you can set your retainer fee at whatever you want. Okay. It needs to be high enough that even if they bought one of the more expensive homes in your market, that you would still, you'd still have collected enough that they wouldn't have to come more out of pocket, right? That's kind of how retainers work. But the point is that I don't really ever want anyone to choose a retainer fee. Okay. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to have to count out billable hours or choose an hourly rate. You guys can do that if you want, but we want the classic fee. And the way that this is juxtaposed is everyone's going to choose the classic fee. Okay. Okay. But now our fee is specified. Okay. And all they have to do is check classic fee. Okay. Then you can choose your level of protection. Okay. You can choose one property or universal. So universal coverage includes ongoing representation on this property and any other property that you want to view. And you can cancel anytime with written notice. Whereas limited coverage includes representation for where you would insert the property address and no other properties. A new agreement must be signed for every property that you want to tour with me. Okay. Again, the idea here is this is very unattractive. Nobody ever wants to take this option, and it doesn't come with what we call the free to go clause, which I'll cover in just a minute. Okay. So free to go. What they would do is they would say, yes, I designate, and then you'd fill in your name as my exclusive agent to assist me in the acquisition of real estate property with either universal or limited coverage that's selected above and under the fee structure selected above. And then they're going to print their name, sign it, and date it. This is your pre-touring agreement. It takes like 2 seconds for you to walk them through it. It's going to make you look like an absolute rock star by covering your service. It's going to frame the relationship as protection, which is what you really want. You're going to specify the fee as laid out by the settlement, required by the settlement. And then you've got the free to go clause. So if you're worried, oh, no one wants to be tied into a contract just to view a home, they're going to start going to Zillow. That's not true as long as you have a free to go clause. Now, some of you guys are thinking, I don't like the free to go clause. I want them to be tied into me. Well, here's why we do the free to go clause. The truth is, quick poll, how many of you guys are willing to enforce a buyer's agency agreement if a client no longer wants to work with you and chooses to work with a different buyer's agent? Okay. Except in the case of like egregious fraud or some type of really, really weird stuff. Okay. How many of you guys are going to go after them and sue them in court? Seriously. Okay. Levi's not, I'm not. Most buyer's agency agreements, I think all realtors understand, are not really enforceable. Okay. And so if they're not enforceable, then you might as well tell them that they're always free to go. Matt Mouser, it's good to see you, buddy. I have never sued anyone to enforce buyer's agency in over 20 years. Exactly right. And that's like 99.9% of realtors. No one is ever going to enforce it. Okay. So why do you tell them that they can cancel, Chris? Because remember, what we're getting is you get psychological loyalty when they sign this agreement. Okay. So you know how you got ghosted? You know, we just relived like the worst moment of your life when you got ghosted by some client that you thought really liked you. Okay. You would have never gotten ghosted if you had gotten them to just make a tiny step to sign buyer's agency where they knew that if they ever wanted to stop working with you, they had to give you written notice. Right. So what I tell them is I say, I always draw their attention. I say, by the way, this includes what we call a free to go clause, which means if at any point you don't like me or you don't like working with me, or you just want to go work with someone else, you can cancel this agreement. All you have to do is do it in writing. So send me a text message or an email and we'll tear it up. And that's it. And that's it. That's the free to go clause. Okay. And so because we have the free to go clause, nobody feels intimidated to sign this touring agreement. It's like, well, if I can go at any time, who cares? Yeah, I'll sign. Okay. So we're going to get a lot of client signings just in order to show a property, okay? But the psychological loyalty is still going to be there. In order for them to leave, they're no longer going to be able to ghost you like they used to do in the past, okay? So when we talk about a pre-touring agreement, the whole point is to never get ghosted again. And you're going to win this psychological loyalty where instead of, because here's what usually happens, okay? They let you show them the property and then they go use their cousin as their realtor, okay? That's not going to happen anymore. Or it's going to happen less frequently because now when their cousin says, hey, why don't you use me as your realtor, Bo? They're going to have to tell their cousin, well, currently I'm already using and I already signed an agreement. I don't really know if I want to cancel it. He seems to be doing a basic job, okay? And so you win that psychological loyalty by getting them to sign this pre-touring agreement, but they're willing to sign the pre-touring agreement at a really high rate because of the free to go clause, all right? So that's for free. Levi's already shared the link, I think, for you guys to download.
I'll put it up again.
Yeah, you're never going to get ghosted again when you start using this pre-touring agreement. And that's why I'm going to tell you that NAR actually did a pretty good job, okay, for you, representing you, because this is only going to benefit you in the long run. The other thing is NAR's done something well because 89% of all buyers are using realtors in purchasing a home, okay? So they haven't completely failed. Now, are they being targeted unfairly by the Department of Justice, and who knows who's actually the money behind these class action lawsuits? Sure, okay? But let's not, without knowing more details, let's not assume that NAR is completely rolled over because they've done at least a couple of things right for us, okay? They made sure that they snuck these pre-touring agreements into the settlement, and they've also made sure that 89% of all buyers are using buyer's agents to do so, okay? So you can download the template in the chat. Levi just shared the link. Now let's talk about what listing agents should do.
Hey, I'll pause real quick because there's been a couple of questions in the chat specifically asking about, well, do I need an agency agreement? More sort of in the weeds stuff. Mm-hmm. And the answer to that is maybe. It depends on your state. This is where you're going to rely on whatever your state's license law is. What we're talking about specifically are the practice changes for the for NAR members. So if you're a member of NAR, aka everyone almost, then these practice changes apply to you, and you still have to follow your local real estate law too. Yeah. So just a point of clarification in terms of like, this is not necessarily everything, of course. Like in North Carolina, we have to have a signed buyer agency agreement before we submit an offer. That won't change. But in the meantime, I'm going to have touring agreements to be able to show properties.
Right. Which, remember, are only a win for us. They're only a win.
100%.
All right. So what should listing agents do? All right. So we've always taught that listing agents should follow something that we call the top dollar playbook. So there's lots of gurus out there that talk about how to get more listings. And I guess we're amongst those people that we can show you a lot of really cool strategies to take more listings. Okay. But very few people talk about what to do once you get a listing, how to sell a listing faster than your competitor is going to do it, or to sell it for more money than your competitor does it. Okay. And so we follow a set of strategies that are collected together that we refer to as the top dollar playbook. All right. Hey, by the way, if you guys have any more deep questions, we are going to do a big epic Q&A here at the end of this webinar in just a couple of minutes. Okay. So stick with us. But for now,
before you go, did you mention the 4%, why we ask 4% on the touring agreement? Because someone had a question about it. We can talk about it during the Q&A. I didn't know if it's...
Yeah, that's a great point. So I probably should just wait for Q&A, but one of the reasons why I asked for 4% is it allows me a negotiating, a great leverage point for negotiations, so that when the seller invariably wants to get a win on me and my buyer, the first thing that I can do is I can drop it from 4% to 3%, or 4% to 2.5%, whatever standard in your, whatever fee you charge.
No standard fee, Chris.
There's no standard.
Come on now.
Okay. Yep. Just a little at the time. But, okay. You can instantly drop that to whatever you want it to be, or sometimes you're actually going to make 4%. Now, personally, I'm a 4% agent. Okay. What I do for my clients with the bulletproof CMA before every offer, with my negotiation prowess, okay, with all the services that I provide, I am easily a 4% agent. Okay. And so I want to get paid 4%, but I also know that it's a competitive market out there. And most people in Fayetteville, North Carolina are expecting to pay on 3%. Not my fault. I'm not setting the commission, but I do know that it's competitive. Okay. And so the 4% is a great leverage point for negotiations. And so we'll talk more about that in just a minute. Okay. But now let's talk about what listing agents should do. Okay. So a listing agent should follow what we call the top dollar playbook. Okay. Where the core idea behind the top dollar playbook is that you should actually pay a 4% buyer's agency commission. Gasp, right? I'm sure you guys are all fainting, okay? But when you pick yourself off the floor, okay, why do we pay a 4% buyer's agent commission? Does anybody want to take a guess? And by the way, the alternative would be that you just pay a 1% bonus on whatever there are no standard commissions, but whatever the expected rate is, whatever the going rate seems to be in your marketplace, you could just offer so if typically sellers pay a 2.5% buyer's agent commission, you could add a 1% bonus on top of that. But I really like the round number of 4%. And I know that in the end, it's actually going to net the seller more money. Okay. So Renee says attract the most amount of buyer's agents and their clients. Yeah, that's exactly right. So the reason why we pay a 4% buyer's agent commission is the principle we discussed before. Buyer's agency drives demand. Demand goes up, the house is either going to sell faster or it's going to sell for more money or it's going to do both. Okay? So pay a 4% buyer's agent commission. We teach something that we call the ultimate listing presentation. It is very easy to pitch this to your listing agent or to your seller rather, as a listing agent to pitch it to your seller. Your seller, given the choice, will always choose to pay a 4% buyer's agent bribe or a 4% buyer's agent commission over using the price of their home to attract anybody to come see it. Okay? So you can pay a 4% buyer's agent commission or you could pay the standard commission plus 1%. And again, there are no standard commissions, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Okay. And then once you've decided to pay a bribe or a 4% buyer's agent commission, then you're going to advertise it following the top dollar playbook on all these different pillars. Okay. So you're going to advertise it on the sign rider. And here's the thing. Okay. At the end of the day, we're going to basically advertise it everywhere we can get eyeballs on it, except for in the MLS. Okay. So the MLS and Zillow are basically the only places we're not going to advertise it. Okay. But one, we're going to advertise it on the sign rider. Two, we're going to advertise it in classified ads. I'll talk more about that in just a minute, okay? You absolutely should be running classified ads for all of your listings. Three, then you're going to advertise it using autopilot mode. This is a way to automate your classified ads with a really cool little Facebook feature. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay, four, you're going to run the up-circulating playbook. So you can get into your entire sphere of influence and their spheres and their spheres and their spheres in less than 24 hours by running the up-circulating playbook. I'll give you an example of that in just a minute. All right. Five, you're going to email blast to the entire MLS. So you're not going to advertise it in the MLS, but you're going to get a list of all the realtors who belong to your MLS, and you're going to send an email blast to them. And we're going to share that email template with you in just a minute. So the two that are starred here, I'm going to zero in on them, and I'm going to break them down for you. Okay. But then you can also advertise it on single property website with a specific domain. And then you can also advertise it by offering a compensation agreement at the property. Number 7 is really important to me because what's going to happen a lot of times when you're, as a listing agent, you're paying a 4% buyer's agent commission. Okay. Unfortunately, it's not going to be available to the buyer's agent because they're going to have already signed a pre-touring agreement that specified a 3% commission, for example. Okay. And so what we do is we offer a compensation agreement in a manila envelope. We'll offer, we'll put like 20 or 30 copies inside a manila envelope that the buyer's agent can grab that'll basically opt them into the bonus. So if you can get your buyer to sign that, and it doesn't take much, you just say, hey, they're offering a buyer's agent bonus for bringing a great buyer. And so if you'll sign this, then I'll be eligible for that extra bonus commission. Okay. And so number 7 is really important. You want to make sure and you print out. And Levi, are you going to share some copies of what we're using? Do we have a template available?
I'll put it in a cheat sheet. How about that?
Yeah, we'll put it in the cheat sheet. we'll put it in the cheat sheet, and we'll send you guys out the cheat sheet after this presentation's over. Okay. But in any case, just in case your state doesn't allow you to submit the commission, at the point of the offer, we're offering, this would be a way to override it. Okay. Now, this is the list of 7 places. If you advertise the buyer's agent commission in these 7 places, you are going to get the word out, and you are going to double or triple the amount of traffic that you're going to get in the first 30 days to that property. Okay. As demand goes up, okay, the price of the home is going to go up, so you're going to get more or higher offers, or you're just going to sell it really, really fast. Okay. Now I want to zero in on a couple of these. Okay. So the 4 that are notated with the little red and blue icon, these are all playbooks that you can easily run inside of Pro Tools. So I am going to do the obligatory 90-second pitch on Pro Tools. I would be remiss if I didn't. The point of this presentation isn't supposed to be a sales pitch, but Pro Tools is going to make a lot of you guys, it's going to make your life a lot easier when you're trying to implement this stuff when it comes to the top dollar playbook. Okay, so running classified ads, it's like click button easy, Levi can tell you, when you have Pro Tools. Autopilot mode, you can basically do all of this really easily with, okay, upcirculating. Levi just finished running it yesterday on a listing that went live yesterday. He ran it with Pro Tools. Okay, single property websites, all included with Pro Tools. Okay, now I want to zero in on number 4, the upcirculating playbook. And then number 5, the other one, and we'll cover that in just a second. Okay, so number 4, upcirculating playbook. Okay, so this playbook is included with Pro Tools, and it'll make your just listed post go viral. It's just one of those things that we're really good at. We've gotten really, we've finely tuned this playbook, and so there's just no way that your just listed post won't go viral and generate a bunch of leads. So you direct your traffic to a single property website, which Pro Tools will provide for you. In fact, just a word on that, Pro Tools, you type in the address of the property. Levi, you did this yesterday. How long did it take you to set up a single property website for 101 Pheasant?
3 minutes, maybe.
Okay, so basically
probably less than that. But
you type in the address 101 Pheasant Court. Okay, Pro Tools finds the listing, downloads all the images, builds a beautiful single property web page that's installed with lead capture, which I'll show you guys a screen capture of that in just a minute. And it generates a load of traffic and leads. Okay, so this went live yesterday. It hasn't even been 24 hours, and it's already got 37 shares, 19 comments, 30 or so likes. How many leads have you generated off of this as of right now? You might have to check your dashboard.
I could go back. I want to say it's 20 plus at this point, and that's been in 24 hours.
Okay, so basically the leads have been flowing in ever since you ran this. Okay, and so everybody that sees the single property webpage knows that we're paying a 4% buyer's agent commission. You should also drop it in the comments, Levi, there on the main post. You should just drop in the comments that you're paying a 4% commission, so they can show it to their buyer's agent.
It's on the single property website though, for sure. And it's like big, bold lettering and whatnot.
Yep. And so here's an example of the single property website. Before they go in, they have to give up name, email, phone number. Okay. So they fill in that information, hit submit, and they get access to all the stuff that they're looking for. Plus, there's going to be a buyer's agency commission here.
There. I don't know if you got an old version of it or something.
Yeah, I have a cached image. So, but the buyer's agent commission is advertised right there, so you can take it to your buyer's agent, and they'll know from there. Okay. Now, number 5, and that's the upcirculating playbook. Okay, and you're already at over 20 leads. In fact, why don't you go look it up while I cover this next section? Because I'm curious, like, what's the exact number of leads? Okay. Number 5 is the email blast to the MLS, and I know this squicks some of you guys out. I know some of you guys are a little bit afraid of this idea. Okay, but this is also included with Pro Tools, the whole template and all that stuff. Although we'll share the template with you guys for free, but if you want to get direct coaching on how to implement this, then you got to get Pro Tools. Okay, so all you do is you go to your MLS and you download the entire agent list. Usually, how do we usually do it, Levi? We just email the MLS support and tell them we want the list of the agent.
I call my local association. I say, hey, can I have the email list for realtors in the area? And they say,
send it to you.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, and they send it to you. So it's really easy. So download the entire agent list, okay? And then we send out an email blast. We'll tell you which services we recommend, et cetera. If you have Pro Tools, we'll coach you on that. Otherwise, you can send out an email blast using whatever service you use. Okay, book a ton more showings. But here's a breakdown of the email. So the subject line is just buyer's agent commission plus bonus. hey, fill in the first name. We need to make sure that we're using mail merge. Hey, hey, John, heads up, we're offering commission plus bonus on a new listing. It's always nice to have a seller who understands that buyer agents sell houses. Remember, buyer's agency drives demand. Therefore, we're offering an attractive incentive package, sellers covering entire buyer's agency commission up to 3%, plus an additional 1% bonus if offer is received by August 27th. A little bit of scarcity, a little bit of urgency to drive those offers to come in quicker for a total of up to 44% BAC. Listing details available here, and we can actually advertise that outside of the MLS, so we send them directly to the single property website. And if you already have a buyer's agency or a BAC agreement for less than 4%, no worries. There's a pre-filled touring agreement available at the property. See the manila envelope on the kitchen counter. Simply have your buyer sign to claim your full bonus. Very glad to offer this incentive in light of recent news. Have a great week. So we sent this blast to the entire MLS, and now every realtor in Fayetteville knows that we're paying a 4% fee. Okay? And we're going to book a ton more showings because of this. By the way, they're also just going to like us, because while everyone else is talking about eliminating buyer's agent commissions, everyone else is talking about reducing them. Hey, I'll pay 1%. Hey, I'll pay 0.5%. We're talking about adding a 1% bonus to the market average.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a terrible thing if you all of a sudden got a reputation in your city of having the best paying listings in town.
Oh, heck yeah. Always. Okay. All right. So you can download the template in the chat, Levi. If you want to share the link to that email template, it's yours to download, guys, and keep forever. All you have to do is if you want coaching with this particular playbook that I zeroed in on, it's included with Pro Tools. Okay. Now let's talk about Pro Tools. Okay. So Pro Tools is a complete marketing engine for realtors, which of course poses the question, what the heck is a marketing engine, Chris? Okay. So this is what me and Levi, we've dedicated the last 10 years of our lives to perfecting this. But a marketing engine just means having a duplicatable system that you can drop into any real estate business in North America and begin churning out client after client after client after client consistently. Okay. And so what it includes, this is what it looks like, but what it includes is a marketing plan. So Levi and our coaching team, when you join Pro Tools, we will write you a custom marketing plan based on your goals and what's working really well, what's getting traction in your area of the country. So we write you a marketing plan, and you got to have that. If you don't have a clearly laid out plan that you can look at and say, that's going to grow my business, I'm absolutely sure of it, okay, you're lost. Okay, so we write you a marketing plan. Plus, of course, you get instant access to all of our playbooks. And at this point, we're actually over 30 playbooks. Okay, so you get a marketing plan, then you get the marketing software. So nothing is more frustrating than when you get a new plan only to find out that you've got to download some new service, you got to sign up for a subscription, you got to pay for this website, you got to do and there's so much friction involved. So everything that we teach you to do or tell you to do in the plan, we have marketing software built to help you execute the plan. So all the backend tools that you need to execute are included in our marketing software package. Okay, and then finally, you get a marketing coach. So Levi, in addition to being COO of the company, is our head coach. He's brilliant at what he does, and he runs our whole coaching department and all of our coaches. But all of our coaches on our team are licensed active agents certified to hold your hand and help you execute. And so you literally have somebody that you can text or call or that you can book a one-on-one with where they will watch over your shoulder while you execute this stuff. Okay, so that's all included in Pro Tools. And then, of course, some of the software that you get is an automatic ad creator. So we talked about the classifieds playbook. This will actually write the classified ads for you. Levi, how long did it take you to write multiple classified ads and get them up on Marketplace and Craigslist and et cetera yesterday?
5 minutes.
Okay, so that's the genius of
I'm pretty fast at it, so it might take your average agent a little bit longer, but it takes me about 5 minutes.
Okay, but from start to finish to implement the whole top dollar playbook, did you get it done in under an hour? That's kind of where I clocked myself.
Probably
at.
About a half an hour is what it took me yesterday.
Yeah. So for most people, if you don't have Pro Tools, following that top dollar playbook that we talk about will probably take you like 8 to 10 hours, or the truth is you'll probably just never get it done. There's too much friction. But when you have Pro Tools and so much of this is streamlined, I can get it done in under an hour now. So new listing goes live under an hour. I've got it blasted. And I've got traffic just pouring in and generating a ton of leads. So lead website, and this includes instant single property websites, unlimited number of them. All you do is type in the address. We build the website for you. It happens in literally seconds. Okay. Phone capture, text capture. This allows you to get SMS autoresponder leads from your sign, and a bunch of other things. And then unlimited one-to-one coaching where we hold your hand through the entire process. Okay. So the point of this webinar was not to be a sales thing, but I know that a lot of you guys are intrigued. I know that we're going to get a ton of questions. And so I want to tell you that we also include a 100% risk-free guarantee with 0 fine print. So if you're interested in Pro Tools, or you want to sign up, I want you guys to know that we're going to assume all the risk here. This is a total risk reversal. If you join Pro Tools and do the work, which just means just completing your 14-day marketing plan, and you don't make massive progress towards your number one goal in real estate, you get to decide what that is. Then not only can you cancel, but we'll insist on a refund, a full refund, every dime that you paid. It's a promise that we live and die by, and something that we take really seriously here. Okay. So if you're not sure and you'd like to learn more, then we've got a really cool deal for you. You can go to pipelineprotools.com/demo, or I'm going to do a little freebie for you if you guys want. I'm going to send you guys to, let's see. I'm going to send you guys to book a demo. And here's what we're going to do. If you guys will book a demo, we'll actually give you the upcirculating playbook that we were just talking about. We'll give it to you free of charge, even if you don't ultimately buy Pro Tools. Does that sound like a cool deal? All right, so I'm going to put up a button that says get a demo plus a playbook, and it's going to include this incentive. So if you book a demo for Pro Tools, and then you show up for it, so don't think you're going to get a playbook just for booking a demo, and then you're gonna sleaze us. Okay, so you're going to get booked with one of our marketing coaches. So Levi or me or one of our marketing coaches is going to get 30 minutes with you. They're going to dig in. We're going to find your lead number and find, what are the playbooks that would make the most sense for you. And then show you behind the scenes of Pro Tools, answer any questions you have. But most importantly, whether you buy Pro Tools or not, there's no obligation. There's no hardcore sales pitch. We will gift you the upcirculating playbook 100% free of charge, yours to keep forever. And all you have to do is book a demo and show up for it. And by the way, this webinar is probably full of people that use Pro Tools and can vouch for how awesome it is. So if you guys want to chat, that's cool too. So go book a demo. I can promise you that we're going to run out of demo slots in like 10 minutes. So go book a demo, come back and let us know that you guys booked. I can tell you that we're already booked for today, tomorrow, and Friday. That happened fast. But you guys can book Monday and Tuesday. We're not going to have slots available forever. So go grab them as soon as you can, and then come back and let us know that you booked a demo. Now, if you already use Pro Tools, don't book a demo. Okay. If you've already gotten a demo recently, say in the last couple of weeks, and you just want the new playbook, don't book a demo either. Okay. Let's reserve these for people that are really seriously considering Pro Tools. This is an uncertain time in business, and a lot of you guys need it. So Chelsea loves Pro Tools. Marty loves Pro Tools. June just joined today. Awesome. So go book yourself a demo and then come back and let us know that you booked. And we'll give you guys just a minute to do that. I will warn you that the demo slots are not going to be available forever. We just don't have enough to go around. Chelsea says Pro Tools is the easiest program to learn I've ever used. Kim loves Pro Tools. Okay, that's awesome, guys. We're going to do a Q&A now while you guys that want a demo and want this offer are booking your demo. You guys can continue to do that. You may have to try multiple times if someone steals the slot that you were looking at. But in the meantime, me and Levi are going to move to Q&A. So if you asked a question during this presentation that did not get answered, let's see if we can answer them now.
So I'm going to, real quick before, because I've been moving a bunch into the Q&A section, Chris, a bunch of the questions just so we can kind of like rapid fire through them. But I saw a bunch of different comments throughout the chat where people were saying, oh, this isn't allowed in California, or this isn't allowed here, or this isn't allowed here. And maybe you missed the first part of it. This settlement agreement is not state specific. And everything that we've discussed here is compliant with the practice changes. Now, correct. How those practice changes are implemented in your brokerage. Maybe your broker has additional rules. Okay, you'll have to figure that out with your broker. Personally, I wouldn't work for a broker who's going to make me uphold a higher standard than even the law and whatever, the NAR standard. But that's between you and your broker. But to say that this isn't going to be allowed in some state here or there is probably, you'd have to give me a specific, but as far as I can think of, it's probably just factually incorrect. Because again, this is not a state specific thing. This is a practice change with your trade association. So you want to just go through these questions?
Yeah, so I've already got some questions lined up, and if you guys have more questions, get them. I'm just going to go through these really quickly. Pamela said, classic fee, nothing up front, 4% of closing. Will brokerage? Okay, so I think that you just answered that, okay. Cherie says, besides the MLS fields removing the commission, how are non-NAR agents affected by the lawsuit? I don't think that they are.
They're not.
Yeah, non-NAR agents are not affected.
You're not part of the trade association.
Because remember, these are new practice changes from our trade association, which you're not a member of, so no big deal. Okay.
By the way, Cherie said something later about us differentiating this in North Carolina. No, North Carolina is just like most everywhere else, which is that you do not have to be a realtor to be a licensed real estate agent. However, it's sort of common because it means access to the MLS, which, by the way, is being challenged in its own lawsuit right now. Whether or not you have to, that's a whole different story. That I don't want to go down that bunny trail.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So LJ said, how do they get attracted when we can't display the commission? LJ, so yeah, we can't advertise the 4% commission in the MLS, but we can advertise it literally everywhere else. And by the way, somebody else asked and said, our MLS says we can't, and we could be fined $1,000 for doing so. I don't know what you're referring to, Lori, but
for advertising it in the MLS is probably what. So if you put it in like the remarks or something like that, you can get fined. Sure. That's part of the practice change.
So Jared said, and this is what I wanted to address, Levi, I was of the understanding that buyer's agent commission could not be displayed on any public facing platform. Is that incorrect?
100% incorrect. And in fact, not only is it incorrect, and I'm not picking on you, Jared, but there are areas, including your website, emailing, pretty much everything that we're doing, which are specifically allowed in the settlement agreement. Like they're given provisions for it. So it's not just like, hey, these aren't allowed and you maybe figure it out. There's gray area everywhere else. No. These are like specifically given the green light. Your website, emailing, flyers, pretty much anywhere else you want to, any non-MLS source. And by the way, MLS source means you can't put it up on Zillow or Realtor.com because those are getting MLS feeds as well. That's part of the agreement, but that's enumerated in the settlement. Yeah.
So I saw someone ask, and so I'm just going to go ahead and address it real quick. If you guys don't want to wait around, because most of the slots, the demo slots, have disappeared really quickly. If you guys want to get started with Pro Tools immediately, I don't have any objection to that. If you want to start working with me and Levi and our coaching team to write you a custom marketing plan like today, right now, you can go to pipelineprotools.com/pricing. We have monthly, which is month to month, quarterly, which is quarter to quarter, or yearly prices. Obviously, the more your commitment, the better the pricing is. But I just put a link in the chat. If you guys want to go, you can sign yourself up right now, and you can actually skip the demo. And everything's covered by 100% money back guarantee, which is covered there on the website. So you can go sign up immediately if you don't want to wait around for a demo. All right. Eric says, if the client signs the 4% buyer's agreement and the seller agrees to pay it, can we then offer 1% to pay buyer cost? I don't know if you have any opinion on that, Levi, but you could use the 1% to do whatever you want.
Can you, as the agent, pay the buyer cost? Is that what you're asking?
No, not out of my pocket. I'm assuming Eric's referring to, can you put it in the final accepted offer?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately the final offer to purchase is going to dictate what actually gets paid, what shows up on the CD, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Tim said, I'll read it, but is the commission not being allowed to be listed in the MLS resources and the NAR link you all forwarded? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've been hiding under a rock, Tim, but yeah, that's the whole gist of this, is that you can't advertise. But two big takeaways, guys. You can't ever advertise buyer's agent. I mean, there's not going to be a field, so it's not like you have the option to, you can't put it in the MLS remarks. You can't advertise buyer agent commission in the MLS. You can advertise it everywhere else. And then also, you got to get a pre-touring agreement. So if you're going to show somebody a home, go ahead and get them to sign the pre-touring agreement, which we shared the resource, the digital asset that we're using to get them to sign. Very, very high on as far as from like a persuasive standpoint, it's very high at getting psychological loyalty. So you kind of eliminate the whole ghosting problem that most buyers agency suffer from their whole careers. Just kind of eliminated it in one fell swoop, which is nice. But those are the two big things. Are we missing any questions?
Yeah, there's two things that got brought up that I figured we can just address real quick. The first is the concept of steering, which as the listing agent, you're not worried about steering. The buyer's agent should be worried about steering. I'm told that in some areas, although steering is in the past about the protected classes and whatnot, and there's specific categories that you can't steer towards or away from, as the case may be. Apparently this, buyer commission is being included in the steering discussion, but as the listing agent, you're not worried about that. And so when we offer 4% to effectively bribe real estate agents to come show our home, again, whether they steer or not, that's not your problem. However, here's what I would say. I don't think that there are very many agents who would purposefully steer or pull someone to a house that doesn't fit their needs just to get a bonus or a commission. However, if there are 10 properties that meets a buyer's need and they're going to show 5 of them on a Saturday, you can bet your bottom dollar that the house that's paying the highest commission is going to be among the 5 that's on the showing list. And that's why it drives demand. So that's hopefully addresses the steering issue. And then the second one is Brian says buyer agent cannot receive a higher compensation than what they have negotiated in the buyer agreement, of course, which is why you have a new buyer agreement sitting on the counter for them to immediately get signed. I agree. 100% agree, Brian.
Hey, Matt Mouser asked, I'm assuming you use touring agreement with electronic signatures. So we haven't started doing that, Matt. I'm not opposed to it. But generally, we're doing it like we're basically booking the whole showing just like normal. Okay. So we're like, oh, yeah, you want to see 323 Whitney? Okay, I'm available at 3 p.m. tomorrow. Does that work for you? Okay, I'm going to book a showing for us. And we can either meet at the property. That's kind of like, back in the day, you loaded them up in your old Cadillac and you drove them to the property. Nowadays, you just meet at the property, right? People are more comfortable with that. And so when we get there, Matt Mouser, to be clear, then we would just bring the one-page, totally unintimidating pre-touring agreement and have them sign it right then and there. And we just let them know. Say, hey, there's some new requirements. I don't say that it's law because it's not. We say, hey, so there's some new requirements. In order for me to let you in, I just got to get this pre-touring agreement signed. And here's what it does, right? And it covers all my stuff. And then I tell them that, I draw their attention to the free to go clause. And I just tell them, hey, if you ever stop, if you don't want to use me or you don't like me anymore, just let me know in writing and we'll tear this thing up. Okay. Laura says, I have a listing right now that refused to pay a buyer's agent, but is willing to give $10,000 toward buyer closing costs. So that should be able to go to the buyer's agent if they have something signed for buyer to pay, correct? Sure. I don't see a problem with that, Laura. I would tell you that while not all sellers are reachable, the truth is as a listing agent, your responsibility, your fiduciary obligation is to get them, whatever it is that they're looking for. I'm guessing that your seller, like every other seller who ever existed, he's trying to sell his house as fast as possible for as much money as possible to net as much money, right? And so if that's the case, Laura, then you have an obligation to lead them in the correct direction where you say, hey, I hear you refusing to pay the buyer's agent. Okay. Could you tell me a little bit more about why you decided on that? Okay. And they're going to say something like, oh, well, I saw in the news that you don't have to cover buyer's agency. It's whatever. And they probably got they probably got their news straight from the mouth of Joe Biden. Okay. And they just realized for the first time in history, commissions are negotiable. Okay. So once you find out what misinformation they're basing on, then you say, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because this new settlement actually really underscored a couple of things, which that sellers don't understand. Is so buyers agents drive demand. So 89% of all buyers in our market that are going to be looking at your home are going to be represented by a buyer's agent. Okay. And most of them don't want to pay their buyer's agents out of pocket. Okay. They would like to wrap it into the deal. Okay. And so what we found is you can actually get a lot more traffic by offering not a lower buyer's agent commission, but actually a higher buyer's agent commission. Okay. And so if you choose to offer no buyer's agent commission, that's fine. You can do that. But I want to let you know it's going to take longer to sell your house, and it's probably not going to go for as much money as you're hoping for. But we could list it at the top end, and I think we could still sell it really quickly. And I would actually recommend that you pay a higher buyer's agent commission. Okay. And that's what I have all my sellers do. And I think if you approached it that way, Laura, that you'd actually be able to move the needle on that. Although, obviously not all sellers are reachable, and that's fine. But that's how I'd address that, Laura.
Eric says, do you see an offer including a 4% buyer's agent compensation being automatically rejected by scared, greedy listing agents? And the answer is maybe. I don't think it would be automatically rejected because if the other terms are satisfactory, who cares what the buyer's agent's getting paid? But again, that's part of the reason why we get 4%, because it allows the scared, greedy listing agents to get a win when they pay us 3% instead, or whatever your fee is.
Yeah. Another thing is, do you guys know what listing agents really want? They want to sell houses. And so if they present an offer that includes a 4% buyer's agent compensation, and a good listing agent is going to present it without bias, right? Without prejudice. And they're going to present it to the seller and go over the terms of it. And if the seller's like, I like it, then why on earth would the listing agent object to it? Makes no sense. He wants to sell the house. Okay. Now, if you ask, what do you think? Then if I was the listing agent, I would say, well, I think that we could get the buyer's agent to agree to a lower commission, and we could net you more money in the net sheet. Okay. And that would be my professional opinion. And so I would say, let's drop it by 1.5 points and see what happens. I bet we can still get the offer accepted, with a counter. And I think it would be. And so that if I'm the listing agent, that's what I do. Okay. But the first thing I do is just present it to my seller and see if they like the offer. And if they do, I don't have a problem with a great buyer's agent making a lot of money. Doesn't bother me.
100%. Terrell says in California, I'm assuming that's California, not Canada, we are to use the term concession rather than commission. Terrell, I think there might be a little bit of a misunderstanding, because you can use commission all day long. You can use that word. We can talk about it here on the webinar. You can talk about it with your buyers, your sellers, whoever. You just can't list it that way on the MLS. And so when you say concession, again, it's not state specific. It has nothing to do with California. You are allowed to offer concessions on the MLS. In fact, that's the advisement that they're giving you in this practice changes thing. But again, not state specific. I think that's perhaps so if you hear stuff and you're like, oh, well, in California or in my state, we're not allowed to do it. Probably not. Read the agreement. It's national. It's not specific to any one particular area.
Yeah. Charisse asked another good question. We already answered this, but it's easy for you guys to have missed it. Is the touring agreement in addition to the buyer rep agreement or in place of the buyer rep agreement? So we recommend, and again, we're not lawyers. We don't play one on TV. We've never been to law school. We're not offering legal advice. Okay. This is what we're doing, but we recommend that you use whatever your standard buyer's agency agreement forms are that you get from your association or your broker, wherever you get them. Okay. We recommend that you use the standard form when you submit an offer. Now, before you tour a home, we recommend that you use this additional resource to satisfy and to be compliant with this new NAR settlement agreement. Hope that makes sense to you guys.
Shonda asked a couple questions. She asked, do you offer a script we can use to present the buyer's agreement with objection handlers? We don't have a script. It should be, the script is, hey, this is the new rules that I have to abide by. So if you want to go look at this house, this is what we're doing.
Right.
and you talk them through the various options. Again, our touring agreement should make it pretty easy because it gives them lots of choices between 2 yeses. And that's always the best place to be as a seller. The second question Shonda asked is, do you use the pre-touring agreement and the buyer agent? Oh, that's what you just answered. Never mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lizette said, this is going to be the last question, and then we're going to wrap up. Okay, guys. Lizette says, are you saying ask for us as listing agent, let's say ask for 3% and ask the seller to offer 4% to buyer's agent? Would sellers say that you can, I think I understand you might have to rephrase, Lizette. I'm not sure that I understand your question, but let me just tell you what we're doing. Okay. So when I'm the listing agent, we follow a plan that we call the ultimate listing presentation. You guys can actually download that. If you email Levi at GorillaRealty.com, he'll send you a copy of it for free just for attending today's webinar. That's on us. It would normally cost you like $2,000, but we'll just send it to you for free. So you can email Levi at GorillaRealty.com and he'll hook you up with that. Okay. Now, here's what we do. We go to the seller and we explain to the seller that buyer's agency drives demand. And if you want to get a lot of demand and fetch a high price and sell it for really quickly, then what you're going to do is you're going to offer a bribe. And so what we do is instead of the standard or the market average 6%, we offer a 8%. Okay. 4% to me and 4% to the buyer. Okay. Only because I always work for half, period. Okay. You guys can do whatever you want, but I'm not making less than the buyer's agent. Okay. I'm the one that's bringing the whole deal to the table. All right. So when you do that, Mr. Seller, okay, you're going to attract a lot more buyer's agents who are going to bring their buyers with them to a lot more showings, and they're going to get a lot more excited about writing a lot more offers. And when you get more offers, or you get more offers faster, you're going to end up with a higher price. And this is what I expect you to net. And so we're able to sell it. We're even able to list it at a higher price. Okay, when we use traffic to sell the home. Okay, so that's what I do as a listing agent. As a buyer's agent, I'm going to have them sign a pre-touring agreement where I tell them that my classic fee structure is 4% paid at closing, nothing up front, 4% at closing. Knowing that if I get into a discussion with them, I say, well, I know the average rate around Fayetteville is 3%. I'm approximately 33% better than any realtor you've ever met. And I will prove it to you throughout this process that I am really freaking good at what I do and that I will be worth 4%. But I will let you know, okay, I will let you know that when it comes down to it, I will not let you lose a house over my commission. So if the seller balks and will only pay up to whatever, I can sometimes negotiate my fee down to 3%. But I want you to know that I'm worth 4% either way. So that's what I would say as a seller agent. That's what I would say as a buyer's agent. I hope that becomes clear to you. All right. So let's wrap up. Do you have any last parting words that you want to share, Levi?
No, I don't. I hope you guys walk away from this as confident as we are that this is an opportunity, as much as, yeah, it's just an opportunity. Anytime that there's major changes like this and you've been providing value, you will get compensated for that value over time. And the folks that weren't providing value, this may be the washout period for them, in which case lots and lots of opportunity on the table.
Yeah. Guys, go get Pro Tools. You're going to love it. Okay. It's our flagship product. It's what Levi and I have dedicated the last 10 years of our lives to building and perfecting. We use it ourselves. Levi used Pro Tools, even though he's no longer really in the field. He had a listing go live yesterday and generated 20 plus. Did you ever get an exact number on how many leads?
Yeah, I may have overstated a little bit. I've generated 17 leads in the last basically 16, 20 hours or so.
Okay, so it hasn't even been 24 hours. He's generated 17 qualified sales leads in less than 24 hours running just the upcirculating playbook, okay? Later on today, running the classified playbook using our autopilot mode feature inside of Pro Tools and all of that. We're going to ramp that up. But the goal is to get to 100 leads from this one listing within 30 days, although it'll probably sell faster than that. We'll have a contract on it faster than that. We'll use it to continue generating leads until it's closed. So anyway, guys, get Pro Tools. You'll love it. You'll get to work directly with me and Levi, and you'll get access to Pro Tools. So we'll write you a marketing plan. You'll get all the software you need to execute the plan, and then you'll have our coaching where we can watch over your shoulder while you execute it. But we'll help guide you through this whole business. But don't be scared, be confident. Like Levi said, we're really excited about what's to come. Let us know if you have any questions. You can reach me at chris@guerrillarealty.com. You can reach Levi at support@guerrillarealty.com. I'll put those in the chat one more time. We will send out a cheat sheet and a replay of this sometime later today. So hope you guys enjoyed today's session, and we'll be back next week probably with another live webinar. So enjoy. Bye.
Appreciate you guys.